So what's going on, guys? You may notice that the person next to me is not who's usually next to me. This is producer Andy. He's made an appearance a little earlier than expected. Keith had some family issues. His daughter is in the hospital, so we told him to go take care of that. That's very important to us here at Dad's Game Room is, family first, take care of your little ones. So he should be back probably, if not the next episode, the following episode. We're gonna save a little topic for him and bring his spirits up a little bit. So this is producer Andy.
Hello, all.
So Andy,
Well, I am happy to be here. I'm not so happy about the circumstances that brought me here. I do want to say, prayers to Keith's daughter and Keith and his whole family. And
yes,
medical stuff is never a joke. Please take care of yourselves, and if you are of the type, please extend some prayers for our extended family here at Dad's Game Room.
So what have you been playing, Andy? What's your go-to at the moment?
Dude, my life right now is Destiny 2. I mean, I know it's like some people hate it, some people love it, but they're getting ready to launch the final installment in the series, like the be-all end-all that's supposed to culminate all of the stories and all of the different lines of the campaign. That was going to come out in February, but then they had some resource issues over at Bungie, so now it's been pushed to June. So it kind of gave me an opportunity to get caught up on all the campaigns that have come out since then, because I was just introduced to it maybe 2 months ago.
I played a little bit of it, I don't know, right when it came out, I think, but it didn't really either that or it didn't catch my interest or didn't keep me involved, but or I just started playing something else. It probably was just something else came out, because I think at that time I was just like trying to keep up with the new hotness, the things that were coming out. So yeah, I probably got lost in that.
There's a new game coming out every week at this point.
I stopped. That's why I just started revisiting my old stuff, because I was like, I can't keep up in the ever-growing backlog. I need some sort of accomplishments when I'm playing and stuff like that. So yeah. I just stopped trying to keep up with all the new stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest complaints about Destiny 2 is that most of the raids and dungeons and some of the stuff that you actually get good things from to build your character and whatnot, going through them, you can't do it alone. You need a fire team, so you have to have friends that play it. They just came out with a fire team finder, which is this sort of matchmaking pseudo thing in there where you can actually bring other people in, let them know what you're trying to do, and they'll join up with you for one raid or something, and then you can go through it. But I tried to go through, because I play a lot late at night, one of the dungeons by myself, and I got to this one point where I got up to, I think, 564 kills and died 35 times trying to get through the thing. And every time you die when you're running it solo, you have to start over from the spawn point. So you're going back in, and basically, you have to re-kill everything, and no.
Yeah, those kinds of games are, you either love them or you just can't keep up with them, or you don't want to keep up with them. It's a lot of time you have to sink in, and that's the allure of some of those types of games. For the average person, is they only have an allotted time to play. They have a crew of friends that they play, and you just have fun playing with friends. It's not even about the game that you're playing. It's about the camaraderie. It's about just getting on with the boys and just playing, which is great. Co-op is a lost thing nowadays, when it comes to getting together in person to play, which brings me to the game that we're going to talk about today, Turtles in Time. Now, do you have any nostalgia or memories of playing Turtles in Time?
Cowabunga!
Cowabunga! Huh?
Man, yes, absolutely. Like, so growing up, I didn't have, a ton of friends. I had like a very, very limited set of friends that I played with, but one of them was definitely my best friend. He was my next door neighbor, and we both had a Super Nintendo at the same time. So, the fact that this game kind of really was a ton easier when you had two people playing it. That really was one of those things where, like, I'd wake up at Saturday morning at 7 o'clock, and I knew I couldn't go over there until 9. So I'd, catch Nicktoons, whatever was on at the time, whether it was Angry Beavers, Cat Dog, some of the older Nickelodeon stuff. Grab some Captain Crunch or, like, some Fruity Pebbles. And then at 9 o'clock, I was at his front door. We were on his old CRT that was one of those big wooden cabinets that had the record player on the top, and that we were either playing Turtles in Time or F-Zero, something like that. But most of the time, it was this game because it's really beat 'em up.
Yeah, it's a very easy game to pick up, a very easy game to play, and I mean, if you're in our age group, who didn't love the Ninja Turtles?
God, I love being a turtle!
There's a video of me when I was, I don't know, probably 5 or 6, maybe, and I'm dressed up head to toe in Ninja Turtle gear, and my mom just creeped around the corner, and I am just singing every single word to the intro to the cartoon. The Ninja Turtles, to me, and still now as a full-grown adult, I absolutely love the. Anytime you come up with a new movie, I'm watching it. I'll revisit the old ones. They're some of my favorite movies to watch. Just like a nice comfort movie to just put on and just watch.
Well,
I mean, you can't go wrong.
Like, that's one of the things with, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It came out in, the mid-'80s, I think? Like, as far as the show?
I think the
and,
mid-'80s
just
with the show,
concept?
yeah. Because they had the comic, and then they when they brought it to TV, they made it more colorful because they wanted you to be able to distinguish between the turtles, and then they named them after the Renaissance painters, Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, Michelangelo.
Exactly.
So they made it more kid friendly. I guess in the comics, they used to love beer.
Yeah.
And in the show, they made it pizza because they needed to be kids friendly, which I didn't know until just not too long ago when I was listening to a YouTube video. They were talking about how they changed it, and I was like, wow, that's wild.
Yeah, I mean, but to, think about how far back it goes and to think about how many times it's been rebooted over the years and in its various ways, it's really one of those things that even though we do go, several years between getting some sort of content out of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles realm, it just feels continuous because it doesn't die.
It does. It's truly a timeless thing that just will never, like, to me at least, I didn't watch the newest like Mutant Mayhem movie, but I don't think they've made, well, maybe like the newer games and stuff like for the the PS2 games and the Xbox 360 games. Like, I don't think some of those were the greatest, and like when they got on like Nickelodeon and they made like the newer cartoons, I don't really think those were too great. But I mean, yeah, for an arcade game that came out in 1991, it was ported to the SNES in 1992. I mean, it will forever hold the test of time. You can't not have a good time playing. You can play it with anybody.
Yep.
You can, like, my 4-year-old, when my game room was up in the upstairs room, I have the arcade cabinet, and she saw that there, and she never wanted to play any other game. She wanted to play the arcade cabinet. So I'd have to get a stool, and I'd bring it over, and she'd stand on it, and I'd have to uncomfortably stand like behind her, like, and move my hands like around her to play, and then she would always want to play on mine. But if I can find the picture or like the video that I have of it, I'll put it in this video. But she loved playing that arcade cabinet when it was up in the old game room. And even when we were down here, I have the Xbox One kiosk, and she came down, and if she is down here when I'm down here and I'm playing games and she's playing with her toys, she'll be like, "Daddy, I want to play games too." I'm like, "What games do you want to play?" And she goes, "I want to play the turtle game." So I put on the Ninja Turtle game, and we'll sit there, and we were playing Turtles in Time. We were playing Shredder's Revenge, the new one for PS4, which is fantastic. If you haven't played that, it's literally just a new version of Turtles in Time.
I don't even know if I knew about it.
Oh my god, it's so good.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
You will not be disappointed. It is absolutely fantastic. And you can, now that we are living in the new world of online gaming, you can play online with your friends. You don't have to go to their house to play. As adults, we don't have time to do that. So
Yeah, that's hard to do.
yeah,
That's very
and
hard to do.
the Cowabunga collection that's on the PS4 that has all of the Turtles games. It has the original arcade, it has Turtles in Time, it has Tournament Fighters, it has the Game Boy games. You can play those online as well.
That's epic. I mean, like
Yeah.
that. So, online gaming, advented in, I guess, 2006, 2007, at least for me.
I think it caught mainstream when the original Xbox came out, because that's when Halo 2 came out, and that was
Yeah, and now that you bring up the original Xbox, I am thinking about back to the Ethernet adapter I bought for my PS2 so I could play SOCOM online. So it does go back a little bit before that. I do stand corrected on that one. But it's such a convenience, and to think about being able to adapt these games to that with like the arcade game. I don't know if yours is actually a 4-player game.
yeah, it has 4.
So that's a 4? Because I remember helping you move that upstairs to that location,
Yeah.
but we actually never managed to play it.
Yeah.
But, that's one of the things that I actually kind of view as a setback for the Super Nintendo version was, Super Nintendo didn't support 4 players.
Yeah.
It's only got 2 controllers. They never really came out with a splitter where you could actually identify separate signals for 4 players. I don't know if the hardware lends itself to that or not, but I think that would have been an interesting adaptation that they could have done for it that you didn't see until N64. And interestingly enough, I don't remember any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff for the N64.
I don't think there was. I don't think there was a game for the N64.
Kind of a generation that went quiet for them.
I don't think they even had one on PS1 either.
Yeah,
not that I can think of off the top. I think the other games that came out were for the PS2. There was some for the PS3, maybe. There was some on. Actually, they remade Turtles in Time on the 360, digital download only, which is a fantastic way to play it. You can get a 360 for like $50, and the 360 store, for those who don't know, is going to be gone this year. I think
is that when end of life is? For
I think
Microsoft?
spring of this year they're getting rid of like the online support for like the store and stuff. So like if you want to download any games and stuff, your time's ticking. So I think I have it downloaded on my 360, but luckily for, anybody that wants to play the original Turtles in Time, you can either go buy a SNES and a copy of it, because it's not terribly expensive. It's starting to get up there. Or you can buy the Cowabunga collection on PS4, and you can have any good Ninja Turtle game that you could possibly wish for.
Yeah, that's kind of disappointing to hear that Microsoft is allowing something like that to go end of life. But
the 360 to me is just one of my most cherished consoles. It's probably my favorite console of them all, just because that was my heyday. I was playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I was playing Halo 3, the Guitar Heroes. I was playing Left 4 Dead, the Resident Evil games that came out, Skate. That was everything to me. I would have big LAN parties at my friend TJ's house, and we'd play Halo until God knows how, God knows when. Like
4 a.m. Turn the
dude,
TV
I
off.
remember being over at my neighbor's house, and I would wait for my dad to leave for work because he would get mad if I walked in the house and he was getting ready for work and I was still awake. So I would I would wait at my neighbor's house until he left for work, and then I would go over and go to bed and sleep till probably noon, 1 o'clock, something like that.
Dude,
But that's a story for another time. We'll touch on that when we get to the Xbox 360. But back to the topic at hand. Turtles in Time to you. Is it good?
I think it's a good game. I mean, it's a bit all over the place in the levels that they have, I thought, really, because, you start out, and I actually was just playing it on my phone while you were setting everything up.
Thanks for the help.
Strongly advise against playing it on your phone because
Yeah.
the controller tends to, like, push up into the graphic.
Yeah,
and
it's terrible.
It's not really great. But, from a game standpoint, it does move you in different places as you progress through the storyline. Like, you start off in the Big Apple, and then they have those levels in the elevators.
I will never forget Big Apple, 3 a.m.
Big Apple, 3 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. But, like, if you really are looking for just a way to get into a game and, actually just beat up the bad guys, it's not, I don't think, terribly difficult from what I remember.
No, it's very easy. And another thing, like, if you want to play the Super Nintendo version, like, it's going to be more of a challenge for, like, a newer player because, I mean, games nowadays are relatively forward in giving you, like, auto saves and letting you start from a certain point or this or that. But, like, back then, you had to continue, and you would start back at the beginning stage of wherever they threw you, and you would run out of continues. Now, I don't remember if you run out of continues on that game or not, but for the PS4 version, like, if you're just a kid and you want to play Ninja Turtles because that's just something you're into, you can very well put that on your PS5, PS4, and you can put in as many lives as you want. You can give yourself as many lives as you please, and you can move through the game at your own pace. You don't have to worry about all of that, which is great because for me, if I were to sit down and want to play that game at any given point in the day, and I have my daughter, or she's here and wants to do something, or I want to play games with her and stuff, I can just give her a controller, throw on as many lives, and she can just go about the levels with me, and she can have a good time. I can play games. Like, it's a good thing to share with with your kid.
Well, yeah. And, I mean, I think that porting it over to the newer stuff has really made that a focus because, when you think of 16-bit architecture with the Super Nintendo.
And it doesn't look bad on the PS5 either. I mean, it looks gorgeous.
That's awesome.
It's not grainy. It's not pixelated. And a lot of the remake fiasco that is going on right now, like, a lot of people hate it. A lot of people are hating on, like, them remaking games or remastering games or re-releasing games and stuff like that. Like, re-releasing, like, a PS4 game on PS5, like, I can understand that, but I love the pushing a collection of old games onto a big package deal. Like, and don't put it full price. Don't make it a full price PS5 release. Like, do like a $40 release. I will buy it all day long. It's fantastic. Like, the Mega Mans, the Castlevanias, the Ninja Turtles, like, they've done all of these big collections, and I fully support it. I love it because it allows those games to live on much longer and easier because people can go out and pick them up. Like, a guy like me, I'm like, I remember playing Turtles in Time. I don't have a Super Nintendo, but I have a Super Nintendo. But like, if I'm just the average person, I'm like, oh, I remember playing that back in the day, and I don't want to buy a Super Nintendo. I don't want to buy an older TV to play it on to where it looks good. I don't want to go through that hassle. I can go pick up this copy. I can play the original arcade, Turtles in Time. I can play the Game Boy games. I can just live out my dreams of being a crime-fighting turtle that lives in the sewers whose master is a rat.
Well, I think that, you definitely hit on a couple key points there. One being the nostalgia factor. Not everybody can go out and grab this old hardware and grab the supporting, CRT for it. I mean, granted, you can get adapters.
You
to
can
run
get
it on an HD and
upscalers, you can
stuff.
get all that weird stuff, but like me personally, like I'd rather either just play it on the old TV or get like a Retron system or have a convenient way to play it, whether it be a Switch collection, a PS5 collection, something along those lines.
And the other nice thing is, like, when we were kids, we would get 2.5 hours into this game, and suddenly it'd be like, well, we can't shut off the Super Nintendo or we're gonna lose all our progress.
Yeah, whereas if you're just like, oh, I have to stop playing, you can just put your PS5 into sleep mode and just pick right back up. Or the good thing about having like a PS5 is you can remote play it to your phone. Or you can have the PlayStation Portal or pick your poison. If I'm upstairs, I'm on the couch, and my wife is watching TV, my daughter's playing with her toys, or maybe she's not even home. Maybe the grandparents took her somewhere or whatever, and I want to hang out with the wife, be in the same room. She wants to watch a show that I really don't want to watch. I can just remote play to my phone, sit there, we can enjoy each other's company, because sometimes you don't have to be present with each other. Sometimes it's just being in each other's presence is enough, especially when you've been married for as long as I have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have that problem, but that's a story for another day. Another thing you touched on, though, was like the price point. I think that it's really important that when these companies are putting these game packages together, they recognize that, this game had its time. Like, it's not going to command the same price point that it did back in 92.
You're targeting a certain audience.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're targeting a new audience along with it, but if they're re-releasing Turtles in Time, they're not re-releasing it for the person that was playing Madden 23. They're releasing it for the person who played Turtles in Time back in 1992, the mid-90s, right, and wants to revisit that classic, and they push it out, and I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah. And I mean, it's important to remember, when we re-release this stuff, it's still 30 years old. It's not going to be cutting edge. It's not going to have all these bells and whistles. It's still going to be exactly what you had, which is a great thing.
It's a formula that does not need to be messed with. It worked then. It works now. It's a tried and true formula, and there are games that are coming out brand new today that are following that exact formula.
Yep.
It's a genre that will never die. It's a genre that can live on forever. You can make it fun. You can make it difficult. You can do whatever you want to do in regards to whatever game you want to release, but it started here, and with other games in its genre, it's just great. It's fantastic. It's easy to play. It's the thing about nowadays is people overcomplicate games. They make them way too intricate. They involve all this stuff that just I don't need it. I don't I don't need it in my games. I need a just fun, good play that isn't going to take me 100 hours, which is great about Turtles in Time, because it only takes about an hour to beat if you're just cruising along through it. I mean, it can take definitely longer if you're dying a lot, or if you just are just...
I was about to say, we must have really sucked back in the day, because I definitely remember spending more than an hour on that.
Probably, as a kid, for sure, because, I mean, you're just a kid. You're not a seasoned game player at that point.
Master Shredder. Who was the big villain?
Shredder.
Was it Shredder?
Yeah. Which villain are you talking about? The main villain?
In the purple cape.
Shredder.
That's Shredder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he was Shredder, and then he, I guess in the
Who was the sensei?
Splinter.
That's what. Okay, I'm getting like.
Dude. When it comes to Ninja Turtles, dude, I know my stuff.
I'm confusing a rat with a Bane-looking dude, and it's like.
Dude, speaking of, dude, when I was a kid and I was playing like Ninja Turtles, like out in the yard or in the house, do you know those the things that hold the tablecloths on tables? They have like a flat piece and it's like a hook on the bottom.
Yeah, the clip.
I used to take those and put them in my hands and pretend that they were like the Shredder's top pieces.
That's priceless. That's awesome. We the knives with the forks on the side are the katanas? Is that what they're called?
The knives with the forks on the side?
I think it's the orange dude. I don't remember his name.
Michelangelo had nunchucks.
He
Raphael
nunchucks.
had the size. It's like the blade with like the U.
With the tang.
Yeah.
Okay, it's called a sai?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm way out of it then.
That's all you
Dude,
do.
a katana's a big stick, right? Or no, a katana is
Katana's a sword.
It's a sword. Okay.
It's like a samurai sword. Leonardo had 2 of those.
Yeah, he had the dual katanas.
Mm-hmm. And Donatello had a staff with the tape. And he was the nerd.
I feel like he got the shaft on that one.
It was a joke.
I made a funny.
Which the new movies like really put like their personalities like into their looks at that point. Like Raphael is like this just bad like just stubborn guy. Michelangelo's just like the goofy jokester. Donatello's the nerd techie guy. He has like a big like night vision goggles and like stuff on his head, and he's like real into like computers. And Leonardo's obviously like the troubled leader who, you know, wants to lead, but he's always like battling with himself, and, you know, is he doing the right thing, is he not doing the right thing, which in the cartoons pretty much is like exactly, and the old movies is exactly what they were, but in the new movies they really like amplified those personalities. But dude, I could talk about Turtles all day long. I love the Ninja Turtles.
So let's talk about the one lifelong quest that came out of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for everybody that played it back in the day. Have you ever found a pizza that looked that good?
No. No.
Like that was the
Dude, the
pizza to
perfect
have. Like,
runny cheese.
exactly.
And yeah.
Like, I don't care how many pizza shops I have been to over the years, and there's like so many local pizza shops in our area.
Oh my god.
None of them get it like that. Like Domino's, no, sorry guys, keep trying. Papa John's, no, sorry. Pizza Hut, no.
Pizza Hut actually, if I remember correctly, sponsored one of the Ninja Turtle games. Maybe it was Turtles in Time. Or maybe it was the original arcade game. They had Pizza Hut like advertisement like on the walls as you would go through the levels. Yeah,
that's cool.
And if you bought, I think it was if you bought the game, you got a free personal pan pizza.
Oh, cool! I get a 6-inch pizza for buying this game. That's
and
amazing.
I think for Shredder's Revenge, if you bought the, which is the new game, if you bought a physical copy of it or like a certain edition of it, you got a Pizza Hut pizza as well. I think or you got a pizza from somewhere. I don't remember what it was.
Shredder's Revenge should have been just having Shredder walk out and just unveil this box with a Stromboli in it, where it's like your pizza is inadequate.
Dude, you have to check out Shredder's Revenge. It's so good.
I'm going to.
It's so good.
I'm definitely going to. I mean,
It's truly like a perfect sequel to Turtles in Time. Like it plays like it. It's got that cartoon charm. You can play as Shredder. You can play as Splinter. You can play as April O'Neil.
Oh wow.
There's like a ninja style rabbit that's in there. I think I don't know what his name is. But
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed when I booted the game on my phone was how stylized April O'Neil is. Like, definitely, they wanted to make her appealing.
well, they were probably following her up because Megan Fox played her in the newer movies.
Oh, did it? Did she? All right, that explains a lot.
Yeah.
Is she still dating Machine Gun Kelly?
I couldn't tell you. I know they were into some weird stuff, like he wore her blood around his neck, or they drank each other's blood, or some weird stuff like that. I don't know. So
Oh, that's some new information there. I'm not
Yeah,
quite sure I could process all that
they-
on camera.
they were doing some weird stuff. So in your opinion, who can play Turtles in Time? Who can you play it with? Who can play it? Who's gonna have a good time?
Well, I mean, we've already heard testimonials from you about how you and your daughter were playing it together and thoroughly enjoyed it. So I think that really echoes the sense that it really is for anybody. Now, I don't think you can sit a 2-year-old down and play him with it. I think that's probably a bit too young. But I think with like the 4 or 5 age range is probably a good place to start. And I think that, even it's just on up from there, 4 through 99, really. I mean, I don't know.
They should start putting that on the like how they do like recommended age, like 4+ or 5+. They should just put 4 to 99.
Yeah. I mean, you got to cut it off at 99, right? Because once you get to 100, I hope you have other things to do.
Yeah.
Then again, being a kid's what keeps you young.
Yeah.
But I think this is a pretty broad one. It's really a mash the buttons, beat 'em up, walk forward, continue to move through. You can follow the storyline. It's fun. It provides context for it, which I think is important, especially when, you get to the younger players where it's like, why am I doing this? Oh, I want to get to the next part of the story. I want to understand what happens next.
Mm-hmm.
It's like interactive book reading,
Kind
in a
of.
way.
Yeah, that's a really well put, like, good way to put it.
Yeah, well, I mean, because, if I remember correctly, the narratives aren't vocalized.
No,
the narratives we're all reading, like
I don't
screen
think
read.
I don't think they could vocalize it back at that.
Yeah, exactly.
At that point.
So, and I don't know if they adapted that in the new ones that way. I imagine that, the new adaptions are basically just forward engineering the old assembler from
They
cartridges.
have voice actors and stuff. I'm pretty sure.
But
it's been a hot minute since I played the new one.
Yeah, I mean, it's interactive book reading, and you have to play and beat up people to get to the next chapter.
Yeah, like the boss battles aren't super intricate. There's not like you don't have to remember patterns, and if you don't remember the patterns, you're gonna die every time. Like they have patterns, they do, but they're not complex. They're not. You can beat them without follow. You can just mash buttons. You may die a couple of times, but you can get through it if you just walk up and just try and hit them as much as you can. But most of the time, a kid's going to realize, like, oh, he does this. If I get hit by that, that's not good. I should avoid that. You're going to catch on pretty easily, and you'll be able to just go through it. The only boss that I didn't have trouble with him, but it was definitely more pattern-based than the others, was Shredder at the very end. And
Right.
he uses a fire attack that, like, fires, like, a line, and if you get that, you hear the famous line, "My toes, my toes!" That lives in my head forever, that part. But then he'll do, like, a green, like, shot that'll go, like, in the middle, and you can just, like, sidestep it and then go right to attacking him.
Right.
And then he does, like, a blue, like, it's, like, color-coded. It's, like, if you see a flame in his hand, bad. Don't ever do that. if you see the green, like just sidestep it, go attack him, and then the blue he shoots into the air, so you can just step right in and just attack him. And his health is much bigger than the others, but once you get into that rhythm, it's very, very easy.
Yeah, I mean, I would almost say that this is probably a better game for young gamers to start with.
I can
even some
agree.
of the modern games, because it really does teach that immediate cause effect where you understand, like, this is what is happening, this is what I need to do. It keeps their attention. It's not too engaging to where, they're going to get so into it that it starts to create, potential problems with focus and things like that outside of gaming.
Yeah, I mean, any game can really open that door if you have that in you. If you're sitting down to play any game, it's going to open the floodgates at some point. It's just the gateway into it. But no, it's not a game that you can replay this game forever, and it's still going to be good. It's still going to be great. You're still going to love it just as much. But it's not a game you're going to sit down and sink 50 hours into just sitting there playing it. Like, you can sink cumulative hours into it, by playing it for, a month or whatever, and then obviously playing other games and then revisiting it a few months down the road. It's a game that you can just revisit every couple of months and play it. Pick up, play it in an hour, beat it, put it down, and then move on. Which is what's great about these old games, is you can sit down, you can play them, you can either beat them in a sitting, or it takes you only 2 or 3 sittings to beat them in the amount of time that you have to play, which is why I find myself going back to my older games and games that I played as a kid versus trying to pick up, just these games that take 60, 70 hours to beat. Like, don't get me wrong, I love those games. I wish I had the time to play them. I wish I could, like, complete them. But with the time that I have to play, like, it would take me months to beat them. And, like, for me, there's so many games. Like, I'm sure I'm not the only one with this issue, but there's so many games out there through all the years of the nostalgia and stuff like that to recent now. Like, there's so many options. It's very easy to pick up a game, play it for X amount of hours, but then you get interrupted because of something, and then you go back to it and you're just like, I'm going to play something else. And then you just have this cycle of just playing a game for a certain amount of time, stopping, picking up something else, playing something comes out that you really have looked forward to, and then you're playing that. That's a game you play to completion, and then, like, you just bounce back and forth. Like, sometimes you play with friends, sometimes you don't. Like, for me, I don't really have any friends, especially friends that I can, like, play games with. So for me, like, if I'm playing games online, it's usually with my brother-in-law. We've been playing the 360 pretty heavily when I'm not editing this podcast, but that's the only time I ever play online. I don't play, like, online shooters anymore. Like, I've had my time. I don't play, like, online RPGs or MMORPGs. Like, and if I am playing that at some point, like, sometimes I get on a little kick. I'm playing old school RuneScape. That's a story for another time, because I could talk about that game until my face turns blue.
So the grand takeaway from all that, for me, is that somebody should go grab a pizza and throw on some Turtles in Time for the afternoon, because that's basically what you're going to get out of it. Yeah. And you can do that day in and day out if you choose. But, mostly if you don't beat it in an afternoon, we're worried about you.
Yeah. So to close out here, go to your local pizza shop, get a nice greasy pizza.
It's got to be runny. The cheese has to be
runny.
Cheese
has to be melty and runny. Like,
got to get it home quick so you can eat it that way.
You don't want to tilt the box. You don't want the cheese to run.
Make sure it's got one of the little tabletop things in the middle.
I haven't seen one of those in forever.
I know, it's a lost art.
Pizza dude's got 30 seconds.
So yeah, go grab a pizza from your local shop, grab your Super Nintendo, grab your CRT TV, slap in Turtles in Time, get your kids down there, get your wife down there, whoever you're going to play it with, your friends, your childhood friends. Call your friend that you haven't talked to in 20 years because you guys grew apart and tell them to come over and play Turtles in Time and just relive your glory days.
That's a good call to action.
Yeah. So go do that. Again, we're here. We're Dad's Game Room. The next episode, may I add, is going to be an N64 game. We're not going to tell you what it is because that would take all the fun out of it. So, next episode, N64.
I'll tell you what it is.
Hey. Secrets.
It's an N64
Secrets.
game.
It's an N64 game. We're Dad's Game Room.
64-bit.
We're Dad's Game Room. We'll see you later.